lot more football as we go. But let's get to the NBA. LeBron James and the Lakers.
Fouls drawn.
Now, one issue here, after this play, Anthony Davis getting a wrap on the shoulder. He'd have to leave the floor, go to the locker room briefly. So there was some concern, and this is something obviously to keep a close eye on. But he would come back, and when he came back, oh my goodness, did he ever dominate. Watch him here doing it all pretty much by himself.
Just some swing grease, Greeny, you go through it. But look, AD is one of the most talented players in the league. I think both teams, between the Pelicans and Lakers, are extremely happy with the trade scenario.
AD had 20 points, 12 rebounds in the first half, and then he continues to just take over. Dwight Howard turning defense into offense. Davis throws it down. Anthony Davis would finish with 40 points and 20 rebounds, and he sat out the entire fourth quarter.
What?
In the meantime, look at LeBron.
We've seen this before. If you see LeBron trailing you, just dunk the ball. Don't try to lay it in.
Or run in the opposite direction. One way or another, the Lakers with an easy win.
I don't even think he's scratched the surface yet. I think we're all still getting comfortable with one another. I think he's still getting comfortable out on the floor, but you know, when he's attacking like that, the guy shoots high in the 80s and 90s from the free throw line. And, you know, that's easy money for him, and it's great for our defense as well. It's great for our team being able to settle a game down like that. So he was wonderful tonight, spectacular in all facets, both offensively and defensively, and we needed it.
Listen, let me just tell you how good this night was. Davis with 40 points and 20 rebounds, according to Elias, doing that in 31 minutes, the fewest ever needed to achieve a 40-20 game since they started tracking this, which was in 1951. So let's get a quick moment here on what we're seeing, because this obviously the evolution of this dynamic, LeBron, AD, and these Lakers is one of the big stories in the NBA. What do you see so far?
The numbers were insane by AD, but more importantly, the first 3 or 4 possessions last night, they came out running a pick and roll. And we talked about that being their bread and butter, and we saw a pick and pop on the first play. You're going to see the pick and roll. He's able to knock down the shot. Next thing, pick and roll, he actually rolls to the basket, has a strong finish. How about this stat for you, Greeny? You ready? He is the second player in NBA history to have 40, 20 rebounds, and 25 made free throws. First player only, Wilt Chamberlain. That's the kind of territory that AD is in.
Now, those of us who remember Chamberlain, no surprise he made the foul shots. But one way or another, Davis obviously off to a good start last night, but the shoulder is something to keep an eye on. Now, I really am looking forward to getting your perspective on this story. And a lot of people, I'm sure, were reading this yesterday, and it is about Kyrie Irving. An article by our own Jackie Mack sounding an alarm about some familiar issues surrounding Kyrie that seem to have popped up yet again in his short time as a Net. Her piece is on ESPN.com. It's our required reading for the day. And here's just a couple of little snippets from it. She writes, Irving's infamous mood swings, confirmed by his ex-teammates, which followed him from Cleveland to Boston to Brooklyn, are the unspoken concern that make Nets officials queasy. When Irving lapses into these funks, he often shuts down, unwilling to communicate with the coaching staff, front office, and sometimes even his teammates. There has already been leeway to allow Irving to march to his own drum. The Nets are willing to look past moments like the photo shoot at the Pearl TV Tower in China, when Irving refused to remove his hat and instructed them to Photoshop it out. Now, for what this is worth, the Nets are categorically denying Jackie McMullen's reports that the team is concerned about Kyrie's moods. Here's Coach Kenny Atkinson.
That is completely false. Strictly speaking of my observation, my experience with them so far, it's absolutely not true. I say I'm the moody one. I really am. I hate to, I'm cranky and I have my ups and downs. So if there's just natural human behavior where guys are up and down, that's different. But from my perspective, I just give him give Kyrie an A+ on his consistency and his spirit, and it's been great.
Okay, so that's what he said. Jay Will, you know Kyrie well.
Yep.
You've spoken to Nets general manager Sean Marks. What do you make of this whole thing?
Well, he denies it, and Sean Marks says, on a Richter scale, this is our least of our concern. But this is what happens when you bring a guy like Kyrie Irving into an organization. I think the Brooklyn Nets understand that. When you look at it, though, and I've been talking to Sean. Look, he did not want to take his hat off. He did ask him to photo shoot that. You have a lot of these NBA players, and I'm not saying that, I'm not condoning that, right? I would have taken my hat off. That's me. But we know Kyrie Irving has discontent with the media. We've seen that in Boston last year. Also LeBron James had his 3 gold chains on, and he got his photo shoot with that too. So, look, I think on a big scale of things, I think this is not a concern. All the players and the team seem to be on the same page, but you have to expect more of this when Kyrie has smaller outbursts, because that's what the media is used to. They're going to gravitate towards this, and this team is going to have to deal with it the entire year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will wonder, and someone else you know well, Kevin Durant, when he returns, it's one thing for him to be sort of an omnipresent figure, but he's not a part of the team because he can't play. When he comes back, how will that dynamic be affected by this?
This is going to be like a Mad Max scenario. They're gonna back each other. I mean, they're out there in the West. That's how they are, right? They're gonna back each other to the end. And both those personalities, that's gonna be something that we're gonna have to watch throughout the course of the season. Because if that doesn't work, how will they get along? How will that affect management? How will that affect the coaching staff and the rest of the players as well? I think the bigger story is, how does Kenny Atkinson actually get Kyrie Irving to build more into their offensive system? He's dropped so many points, right? He's the best ticket in basketball. But Greeny, they've lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they also lost to the Memphis Grizzlies, 2 teams that aren't projected to make the playoffs. That's the bigger story going into the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, a lot to watch there, and who knows what the expectations are until KD is back on the floor. More as we go. Lasts through this weekend, because the AFC North leading Ravens will host the Patriots on Sunday night. And the Pats defense, as you know, has been spectacular, allowing only 61 points in 8 games. But Lamar Jackson has run for 576 yards this year, almost 300 more than the quarterback with the next most in the NFL. So something's got to give. What makes him tough to stop the run is the ability to run. What makes him tough to stop is the ability to run. Not only does he lead the league in yards per rush, but put 8 defenders in the box, his yards actually go up. Only Dalvin Cook has more rushing yards before first contact than Lamar Jackson. Now, that's a huge stat because he's a quarterback, so obviously it's a little different. But, Neek, this is obviously strength against strength. Lamar Jackson against that great defense. Give us a look at some tape.
Oh, yeah, so it's hard to pick a weakness of this Pats defense, but I think if there's one, it is the running attack. They mess up some of their lane responsibilities. Right now they have 2 guys, one guy for the back on the backside and one guy for the quarterback on the backside. They have a problem where they give up contain. So the backside linebacker is caught. There's actually a safety who's caught right there with the center, and then they lose contain on the front side, which is a problem for the running back. And if you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, they might apply 2 guys to the backside. So if your free safety is the first one to get the edge, that's a problem. Again, lane responsibility is the issue. Right here, you get cut off. You have 2 guys in the outside lane, which opens up a lane on the inside right now. So the Pats defense is fantastic, but if they do this against the Ravens, they're going to have a problem, especially if they want their free safety to be the edge defender. That's going to be a problem for big plays in the pass game, too.
If you go back to the Baltimore Ravens versus the Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll talked about the non-called quarterback runs, which are scrambles. And right now, the Patriots are giving up 8.2 yards per carry of those. And so the other part of this is Lamar Jackson is different, right? And you think that you can plan against him and do something what the Los Angeles Chargers did last year, but he's advanced as a passer, so you have to respect that. And most teams have to get out of running against the Patriots because they're behind. This is going to be a huge test for this team because if this offense can't score points and they can stick with the run, this is going to be a great game.
So to be encouraging for the Patriots, I did see them put together a pretty decent game plan against Josh Allen. Josh Allen doesn't run nearly as well as Lamar Jackson, but they had an aggressive spy, which is something that's important. When you keep a contain on the pocket, and you don't want your spy to hang back. You want your spy to step up, because if you get a guy in space with Lamar Jackson, you're going to lose.
That was pretty much the only game in which the Patriots have been even remotely tested to this point in their schedule. So I think a lot of people will base a lot of what they really think about this New England defense in particular